Not going to lie, this one surprised me. So the Carolina Panthers woke up the timeline this evening, signing former Dolphin tight end Darren Waller to a one-year deal. Now, I got to be honest with you, I like this move. Why do I like it? Because our tight end room has left a lot to be desired. One of the main things that he's going to come in immediately and have an impact with is red zone. This guy has 6 touchdowns in the season, and it's not just red zone. A lot of seam routes, a lot of, comebacks and things like that. He's a really good football player, instinctual football player, can play the tight end position fully. Blocking, scheme understanding, receiving. He does it all, right? The biggest thing with Darren Waller has been health. He only played in 9 games last year, but his 9 games stand out significantly even to our tight end room, right? When you consider he had 283 yards, which would lead our tight end room. He had 6 touchdowns, which would lead our tight end room, and also had over 11 yards per reception, which would also lead our tight end room. Now, you could make an argument here that depending on the quarterback and the scheme, that the yards per reception and the actual yards itself do matter, right? We've often made arguments, and depending on who you talk to and what their, argument would be, that Carolina doesn't necessarily feature the tight end the same way as other teams do. But they've also not had a guy like this really since Greg, right? If we just want to be honest, this is that caliber of player, right? He's just someone who's been injured, someone who has some, personal stuff in his own life that has gone on, who's in the twilight of his career, just trying to, sign one-year deals, going and helping the team. Now, a move like this tells me that Carolina really sees, a need at the tight end position, right? A lot left to be desired. Ja'Tavion Sanders, someone we're hoping can turn the corner. I got to be honest with you, when I see a move like this, it does make me feel that somebody, if Darren Waller makes the roster, because I know he signed a one-year deal, right? And it appears that, all things considered, he will make the roster. But it makes me wonder, somebody that we may know and love might get clipped, right? So that's a real possibility. I'm hoping it's not. I'm hoping that this is part of the competition that will light a fire, that will create more opportunities for the guys that they really want to see it from and them get better. But if you don't, maybe you catch lightning in a bottle with Darren Waller, right? Remember, we signed Rico Dowdle on a one-year deal, right? Chuba Hubbard was a 1,000-yard rusher. We draft Jonathan Brooks. And even though Chuba was having a lot of success, rushed for 1,000 yards a couple of years in a row, got a contract, we still wanted to see more out of the running back room. That's what this feels like to me. So you're signing a guy who has a lot of talent, right? Who's been proven. Different from Rico is that Rico, yes, had rushed for 1,000 yards, but he kind of was on the shelf for a number of years and then came here and really got a chance to showcase to the NFL, like, hey, this is what I can do. In a situation with Darren Waller, you know what he can do already, right? You just hope that he can do it consistently and be in multiple tight end, situations where he can provide you a ton of value and you don't necessarily, he doesn't get worn out just because of age and, too many opportunities. Like he's just, not necessarily a stopgap because I think he's much more than that, but he's someone that will absolutely secure that position. So again, I like this move. I think it shows that Carolina is serious. I know some people would probably push back on this and say, well, why wouldn't you go out and sign a David Njoku when he was available, or, any of the other tight ends that may have been available, whether in free agency later down the road or ones that are just kind of out there laying in wait. But I don't mind this move because I think it does bring some juice. This is a guy that's competitive. Like I said, he's super talented. It gives you an option at tight end that you really haven't had from even a receiving perspective. And like I said, it also lights a fire under the current tight ends that you have on the roster. So kudos to the Carolinas for making this move. I don't know if he'll stay healthy the whole time. It'll be fascinating to watch. But regardless, tell me what you think about the move. I think it was one of those moves that could eventually spell a perfect situation for us. It could be a perfect storm. Darren Waller is one of those guys that if you could get him to the postseason, he could make some meaningful reps, right? He may not be a guy that's going to play a full 17-game season, but he may be that guy that you need when you roll into the wild card round, or in my opinion, when you roll into the divisional round. And I think you know what I mean by what I think our record would be by saying that. He's one of those guys that can show up. He's a gamer, someone that you can count on and you can trust, build some rapport with. I don't know that we'll see him in this preseason game coming up. I don't know if he'll be on limited action, limited reps, and maybe you don't even see him to the regular season. But I do think that they signed him and made this signing for a specific reason, and that is competition. And also, hey, we've seen enough. It's time to make some changes. But anyway, as I said, let me know what you think below. Make sure to run that like, run that hype, and I'll see you on the next upload. Till then, keep pounding.